All right, we want to welcome our Crown Council viewers. Today, we are so excited to introduce one of our newest Crown Council resource partners, David Harris with Prosperident. David and Prosperident are going to be our new point of contact for all things embezzlement. So welcome, David, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Spencer. I'm really honored to be with such a great group. I really look forward to working with your members.
Many of you know we have had someone in embezzlement for many years. Bryant Truitt is former Crown Council resource partner, has retired, and David knows Bryant Truitt as well. I wanted to add that just so that you all know that we are excited to bring on somebody new and not skip a beat in such an important piece of the industry. So one thing I think that is, as we kick things off, David, is that Prosperident covers the following, and I just want to share with our viewers: diagnostic exams, forensic investigation, office protection system, and litigation support. And so, David, we're excited to hear about how you got started, your history, and let's just dive right into this.
Absolutely. I'd like to tell you that I had some big vision about investigating dental practices, and I just followed that vision. And the truth's a little bit different. I got a call one day, and we're going back now to 1989, Spencer. Mm-hmm. I got a call from a dentist who had concerns, who knew me socially, and it really started from there. And more than 30 years later, we've now got a team of about 25 people. We've got pretty broad capability in the sense that we can work with almost any dental practice situation that you can imagine. And we take pride in being the industry leader in this field.
Yeah, our viewers appreciate that you work specifically in the dental industry because you can relate so well to them.
All of our people have a dental background. In fact, about 40% of our investigators used to be dentists, and the rest come from some other corner of dentistry. So they were software trainers or office managers or consultants before they started working for us. So we understand dentistry intimately, and practice management software is really our playground. We know software in a lot of cases, I think, better than the people who make it, at least in the area that we work in. We also understand the culture of dentistry. We know the stresses and the pressures that a dentist might face. And, we're very comfortable existing in that environment. So I think people will feel very much at home when they work with us.
Man, that's great to hear. I think it would be helpful for those, David, to know sometimes it's almost like you only reach out to someone like you when they need you, and no one. It's almost like they don't want to make that call because heaven forbid you're ever a victim of embezzlement. And so, why don't we talk about what we see happening in the industry most frequently? Therefore, what could our doctors of the Crown Council be? Just what are the common threats to our dentists today?
Well, the big threat is a staff member who conceivably has worked in the practice for a long time, wakes up one morning and says, "Today's the day I'm going to start stealing." And unfortunately, that can happen in almost any set of circumstances. I have a lot of dentists who think they're immune for whatever reason. I pay my staff really well, or I practice in a small town and most of my staff used to be my patients before they came to work for me, so I'm safe. embezzlement's a really selfish crime. People steal typically for only two reasons, and they are need or greed. So needy thieves are exactly what it sounds like. You know, they're 2 months behind in their mortgage, they're about to lose their house, and they're stealing to defend the basics of life. And then you have the greedy thieves, and they're stealing to address an ego deficit. They think they should be further ahead in life than they are. They watch all of their friends who might be business owners or maybe inherit money or something, and they watch those people with summer homes and nice cars and things, and these people covet what others have, and they steal to address that. And either of those factors can happen in any practice. There's no practice that is locked out from, as I say, people deciding that they have a stronger right to the dentist's money than the practice owner does.
Yep. David, it seems that it's up to us to make sure that our checks and balances are in order. If it can be anyone inside our practice, then it really falls on us to make sure that we are doing the right things on a day-to-day basis to ensure that nothing surprises us 2 years from now.
Absolutely. Three things that a dentist can do to protect themselves. The first is to hire carefully. And I will say, Spencer, that dentistry has, for whatever reason, allowed itself to get out of step with how the rest of the world hires. And most dentists make hiring decisions with far less information than they really should have. And I guess the irony is that that information is generally pretty available to them, and they just don't access it. And we've all heard the stories, and our Hall of Shame on our website tells a lot of them, about people who get fired in one practice, and a couple of weeks later, they're working across the street. We call these people serial embezzlers. How do we stop this? Really simple. We need to thoroughly investigate somebody, and part of that investigation is, no matter what, you need to talk to their former employers. A lot of dentists will skip that, and even basic things like a drug test that is mandatory in most employment situations is really uncommon in dentistry. And that makes no sense. The second thing I'll say is that a lot of dentists are detached from their practice financially. They don't, for example, review the day-end report at the end of the day. And if you are that person, it's really easy to steal from you. If you review your reports and you ask the questions that you should, you can still be stolen from, but it's a lot more complicated because now the thief has to teach your software how to lie. And that rules out probably the bottom quartile of thieves intellectually, because they just can't figure out how to do that. The third thing that I'll encourage your members to do is to be sensitive to staff behavior, because when thieves are stealing, there are behavioral telltales. A lot of thieves, for example, are reluctant to take vacation because perpetuating their stealing means that they need to be there so that they can control how information flows through the practice. And if they take vacation, that can't happen. This is often the first person to arrive and the last person to leave, because thieves want to be alone when they steal. It will also be the person who will be very possessive about their duties. They won't want to cross-train anybody. They won't want to delegate anything. And a lot of times that possessiveness will even extend to their workspace. I could go on for quite a while about this, but I'll just end the thought by saying that dentists really need to keep an eye on how their staff are acting and understand what stealing behavior looks like.
So David, when our practices reach out to you, they can count on you being undercover and so that we don't welcome David Harris into the office. This is an investigation on our team. How does that go down?
Well, I promise never, ever to send a geeky accountant-looking person to your practice and have you try to explain to the staff that they're there for 4 days to fix the compressor.
Yeah.
Our investigations are done remotely, and they are done in a way that they are undetectable to your staff. And that's critical, especially if you're in a situation where you suspect somebody and they're still working there. I mean, imagine if they found out that you called in the forensic people. First of all, if they are stealing, that's their chance to try to destroy evidence, which in some cases has even included things like burning down the practice. And if they're innocent and you do this, you've ruined the employment relationship permanently. I mean, there's no way that you and that employee will ever be able to function together again. So it's essential that it be stealthy. And we go to a fair amount of trouble to make that happen.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and comforting to hear. David, talk about new technologies today are including payment by phone. Maybe we're seeing less cash. Some want to pay with cash or check because they avoid like the credit card fee that sometimes the office can pass on. There's different forms of payment, and they're moving more electronically now. However, it seems to be that sometimes the patient doesn't even need to be next to the front desk to make the payment, so they don't sign anything in some cases. Let's talk about payment, and if that is emerging something that we are seeing in our offices.
This is one thing, Spencer, that a lot of casual observers get wrong. The first myth that people have is that they think that thieves can only steal cash. And, if I could just find a way to eradicate cash from my practice, my embezzlement problems would vanish magically. And we're having this conversation at a time when COVID is still a factor in the world. And I've said to a lot of dentists, COVID gives you a great reason to stop accepting cash at your practice. However, if I'm a thief, I still need money. And if cash is not available to me, because it would be my first choice, I'm not going to give up and go home and join the church choir. I'm going to find a way to monetize incoming checks or credit card payments or electronic funds transfers. And I can tell you that all of those things are stealable. The other thing I'll say is that every time there's a new technology, it opens up more doors to thieves. When I started in this game, most of the payments that came into dental practices came by cash or check. Most practices in those days didn't even accept credit cards, and there really was no such thing as an electronic funds transfer. When each of those things comes on board, it increases the number of opportunities available to a thief. And one of the best criminals of all time, and most of the audience has probably heard about him, his name was Frank Abagnale. He was the subject of the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
And Frank's comment about technology, he did his stealing in the 1960s. And he said, if I were doing it again today, I could take so much more money because of technology. Huh. And, when banks stop having humans process checks and they move to machines, that creates opportunities. Mm-hmm. When there's a swipe terminal in your office for credit cards, that creates opportunities. As you point out, when people go from having to sign something to, for example, tapping their credit card, that creates opportunities. So technology is the embezzler's friend, and it's certainly not the practice owners, at least in this respect.
Yeah, what a strong phrase and comment there, David. That technology is currently in the favor of the embezzler versus the practice owner. And I mean, we need to be aware of just, again, the checks and balances. And I think, David, that sometimes you have an office owner that turns over the keys to someone else in the office to manage all the new technologies coming in, because they're like, hey, I've got a lot of work to do. You figure this out. And then that becomes like even easier for embezzlement.
nobody ever became a dentist because they really, really, really wanted to own a business.
Yeah.
For every dentist I've ever met, Spencer, the part of their job they like the least is running the place. And the part they like the most is what they do clinically.
Mhm.
And that plays very squarely into the hands of the embezzler, because what the embezzler wants, and coincidentally what the dentist wants, but for completely different reasons, is the dentist to be clinically focused and uninvolved in the business of the practice.
Yep.
So it's what the embezzler wants. And as I say, it's also what the dentist wants. So the staff member who says, doctor, you go in your operatory and do great dentistry, and I'll make everything else happen around you, is music to most dentists' ears. And it is also the perfect climate for the embezzler. So we almost have the perfect storm in dentistry, where most people who own dental practices conceptually are like absentee owners in their own practices.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Man.
it's a bad combination.
Yep. It's almost like the perfect storm. It's a bad combination in everything that you've just outlined. Um, David, you offer additional webinars and ways that we can learn, and even exploring on your website, you can see that um, there's webinars that we can watch and learn more to become more educated. Aside from this, this interview is more of an introduction for David coming into the Crown Council to help our members. David, talk about where we can learn more from you and to educate ourselves.
Absolutely. We've got lots and lots of content available on our website. And you mentioned webinars. We have those. We also have podcasts if you prefer to get your content as audio only, because a lot of people listen to us when they're driving or working out, or maybe they can't get to sleep at night and they put us on, and that solves the problem. So we do have podcasts as well. We've got lots of written content if that's your preferred way. Our website really is a treasure trove. The one thing you won't find on our website is how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very, very careful not to put information into the public domain that would help embezzlers.
Right. Exactly.
So if you want that kind of stuff, if you want it for the right reasons, we'll help you. If you want it for the wrong reasons, you may end up like 700 other people on our Hall of Shame, which is the part of our website where we profile embezzlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, David, as we start to kind of come in for landing here, we are excited to welcome David into a lot of different forums of education and presenting to our Crown Council members. We're going to be able to utilize David in our Leadership Academy presentations. We're going to see David in our annual event, Lunch and Learn presentations. And I know that we will host some webinars specific to this topic with David for everyone to chime in, have some live Q&A from our doctors. David, we're just really excited to have you on board, and look forward to working with you. I'll turn the time over to you for any closing remarks.
I am incredibly honored to be dealing with this group of elite dentists. And, I can only hope that I eventually make you sick enough of hearing from me that this problem goes away for your members.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Again, David Harris, Prosperident, and a lot more to come from Prosperident teaming up with the Crown Council. Thanks so much for your time, David.
Thank you, Spencer.